Hey guys, I am Deanna, and today I want to share with you my story, my testimony of how God healed my body from a pleural effusion. And so it all started back on April 24th, 2019, and on that day, it was the very first day that I decided I was going to get my life in order. Okay, I had decided that I was going to be at the gym at 5 a.m. and start working out in the mornings before my husband or son woke up, so that I could get in a good workout before I even went to work. I work as a second grade teacher, and so I've been thinking about this, planned it out, set the alarm to go off at 4:45, just throw on my workout clothes and head out the door. So I'm dressed, it's not 5 o'clock yet, and I bend over to tie my shoelaces. I'm standing like right around the corner over here, bend over to tie my shoelaces, and out of nowhere, this extreme tightness in my chest and shortness of breath comes out of nowhere. And I'm like, what's this? Like, this is not right. I had not experienced anything like that before. And immediately my mind went to heart attack symptoms. Like, is that what's going on here? I was like, no, I'm healthy, I'm young, that's not it. Plus, I had been planning on getting my life in order, and today was day one. So I was not gonna let these, heart attack like symptoms get in my way of getting my life on track. So I ignore it, kind of brush it off, and go work out that day. Later on that night, when I was laying down, I kind of noticed, like, when I would turn or lay certain ways, there would be this shortness of breath, the difficulty breathing, and the tightness in my chest. And I'm just like, this is odd. But again, I brush it off that night. But then when the alarm goes off again that morning, 4:45, and I'm about to get up to start getting ready and go to the gym again, I just keep noticing, like, when I turn, move certain ways, like, I'm just having a hard time breathing, and I'm noticing a very undeniable tightness in my chest. And so I, nudge my husband, wake him up, like, hey, this is what's been going on the last day or so. Maybe we should go get this checked out. In my marriage, I'm the one who errs on the side of, I think this is going to be okay. Like, we don't really need to go to the doctor. And my husband is like, let's go to urgent care. Let's go to the emergency room. Like, let's go. Let's call Teledoc. He is the Mr. Let's get it checked out. And I'm like, let's just wait and see. I think it's going to be okay. So I tell him that, and he, like, immediately, we go to the hospital, the emergency room early that morning, and I'm there all day, and they do all sorts of tests on me. They do blood work. I take an x-ray, CT scan. They send me upstairs to the heart floor. I do a stress test, and everything mostly comes back okay. But from the CT scan, it's either the CT scan or the x-ray that showed that I did have a pleural effusion. And how the physician explained it to me is that it's where there's this fluid in the pleural cavity, or the pleural space between your lungs, that's not supposed to be there. So back in 2019, I had a lot going on. It was just kind of a challenging time. And so I asked the doctor, could this be anxiety? And he says, it's possible that you could have anxiety. However, anxiety is not going to put that fluid, right there at your lungs. And so I'm like, okay, doc, good point. Good point. They send me home, say, whenever you have these symptoms, just take however many milligrams of Motrin, and that should help. So they refer me to a rheumatologist, and I can't get in with the rheumatologist for another month. May 30th is when I go to the rheumatologist. And so the rheumatologist orders like a slew of tests. I look back at my papers from when I left there, and she ordered like 16 different tests, including an echocardiogram. She refers me to the heart specialist. I go there, I get the echocardiogram done, and I think that things are okay with my heart, because when I did the stress test at the hospital, they said my heart is strong, it's healthy, like they didn't see anything wrong with it. And when I go to the heart specialist, and they do have me under that machine or whatever, and I am getting that test done, the person who's running it, it's from what I gathered from just her demeanor, her facial expressions and everything, it seemed like things were okay, but because she's not a doctor, she can't say or really discuss the results with me. The results came back that everything was okay, and when it did, I was like, I knew there wasn't nothing wrong with my heart. And I really wanted to just call up Aetna and be like, look, There seems to have been some sort of misunderstanding. Everything is okay. Do you know that $1,500 bill that you sent me in the mail? If you could just get rid of that, like scratch it from the record, I would appreciate it so much. So the rheumatologist ordered that test and a bunch of other tests. Almost, everything came back good and clear, except for she had me do another chest x-ray, and it did still show the pleural effusion. She was trying to figure out like what's going on, what's the root of it, so where is this coming from? This is after my first visit with her. She sent me on my way, told me, hey, if you experience these symptoms, take ibuprofen and it should help. And so that's what I did. When I initially went to the emergency room, I was experiencing those symptoms very frequently. Like if I lifted anything above my head or lifted anything heavy, which at the time my child was 2, so I couldn't really pick him up. Like at the very beginning when I was first diagnosed, I was experiencing like I'd be walking, everything's normal, at work, teaching, whatever, and then all of a sudden out of the blue, like I would get those symptoms. Difficulty breathing, tightness in my chest. And so I was experiencing it pretty frequently, like sometimes several times a day, sometimes several times a week. And it was very, very frequent at the beginning. So I was like, always had my Motrin with me, my ibuprofen, so I could just always have it handy. And it did help, when I would take those medications. So the rheumatologist had me follow up with her pretty often, and she was telling me that she wanted to put me like on hydroxychloroquine, which I think is the same medicine they like started using, and there was this controversy or like talk about it during, all of 2020. But this was back in 2019 when she was talking about putting me on hydroxychloroquine because she was saying that I might have sarcoidosis, which like is a lung condition. And I told her, let's hold off on that. Let me just try an anti-inflammatory diet, because I don't remember exactly what she was saying, but at some point in the conversation, she was talking about inflammation. And I know that my mom had excellent results with healing her own body by taking on pretty much an anti-inflammatory diet, like high in fruits and vegetables. She cut out all sugar. She cut out meats, like pretty much inflammatory foods my mom cut out of her diet. And the first time I noticed something was when she had come to visit me, and like she was pressing, like squeezing garlic in my garlic press and like reaching up to get stuff. But I know that before she had issues with her shoulder, and I was like, Mom, you're doing all this. And she's like, yeah, I am. And so I guess she hadn't even noticed that, but I noticed it. And she had been doing she had taken that approach because she had breast cancer and she refused to do chemotherapy. She was like, I'm not doing that. I'm not putting my body through that. It's not good for me. And her doctor was actually even upset with her, but God healed her body. Like she did not, the cancer ended up, going away, and she's still cancer-free today. But because I know that my mom had such good success with like taking on an anti-inflammatory diet, I told the rheumatologist, like, let's hold off on this hydroxychloroquine and let me just try an anti-inflammatory diet. So I told her that. However, I went on with my poor eating habits. I did not try an anti-inflammatory diet. And so there's that. So when I followed up again with the rheumatologist, after that she told me to go get another chest x-ray in like 6 months. December 31st, 2019, I went and got another chest x-ray done. And when I went there, the technician was like, when I told her, what I was there for, whatever, she's like, pleural effusion, like, why do you have that? Oh, that's like, only old people have that. And I'm just like, I don't know. Like, if I knew why I had it, then I would probably be able to do something to make myself not have it. And so when she said that, I was like, okay, so maybe, and she's talking about only like older people she usually sees has it. I don't think this is a good thing. Like, that's not a good sign. So I get that chest x-ray done. The results come back that like the pleural effusion is still there. It hasn't cleared up. It has not gone away. It's still like the fluid is still in my lungs. And at this point, throughout the year, the symptoms had started to subside and lessen, but sometimes just out of the blue, I would get that difficulty breathing and the tightness in my chest, just those two symptoms really. So again, 2020, I don't follow up with the rheumatologist. I think she tells me like to go get another one like in 6 more months. I was supposed to do something with that in 2020, but I didn't at all. 2021, that's this year, February 24th, I have my annual exam with my primary care physician, and she sees it that I was supposed to get another chest x-ray like a year ago, like sometime in 2020. I was supposed to go get it done and I never did. And she's like, you really need to go get that chest x-ray ASAP. Like, go to find an imaging center, go get it done. You really need to do that. So I finally go and get it done. However, this time in January, I started taking more of an anti-inflammatory approach to my diet. So my church does this fast at the beginning of every year, like probably about a 3-week fast. And so during that fast, I gave up sugar. And at the end of the fast, I was like, well, what if I just stop eating sugar? Because I've done that several times before, where like I'll stop eating sugar. I'm going to say, okay, I'm giving up sugar now. I'm not going to eat it anymore. But whenever like a certain type of occasion would roll around, like I would break my like 1 month, 2 month, 3 month streak. And once I broke it, I'm like, well, I'm here now. Might as well sit down and get comfortable, you know, eat all the cakes, cookies, and sweet treats that I want, right? So I did it once before, like leading up to my 35th birthday. I was doing really good for several months, or a couple months. And then my birthday came and my husband had this custom made cake for me, and I couldn't not eat my birthday cake. So I had some and I had some more and some more. And then like it just opened the floodgates to all the sweet treats. And then I had done it like maybe the year before that, and I was doing so well for like maybe a month. And then Teacher Appreciation Week rolled around, and my friend Denise, a kindergarten teacher at my school, makes these delicious, super sweet, really cute sugar cookies. And she also made like this cherry dump crumble thing in the crock pot. Like, it was just really good. And so I went all out for Teacher Appreciation Week that year, and was not thinking anymore about like my no sugar. But this time in January, for like whatever reason, I stuck with it, and it was different. And when certain things rolled around, like I just resisted the temptation. Like, God obviously had to help me, because I really feel like I was addicted to sugar. Like, I've had kind of an unhealthy maybe relationship with just food in general, but sugar especially. Like, I'm the type of person who had a sweet tooth. Like, I could never ever have enough sweets. And I would hear people talk about like, oh, I can't eat those sugar cookies or whatever, like, or the icing, like it's just way too sweet. I could never wrap my mind around the concept of something being too sweet. Like, how could it be too sweet? I didn't understand that. But God really helped me. And so like different temptations came around. We had something going on in the classroom one day, and students brought in those sugar cookies. You know, the ones from Walmart or Publix, where they're like these kind of whitish beige colored cookies, and they have that frosting in the middle, and it's just really good. Like, anytime students would bring those in, I would have to have some. But we did that, and I resisted the temptation. I didn't have any, and like more and more things just kept coming up. And I kept choosing to not eat the sugar. And like, I had given up sodas and sweet tea, pretty much any liquids other than water. Like, I was not really drinking it. And my only sweets were like fruit. So for whatever reason, like I just did really, really well with that. That had been from like the beginning of January through like even up to now. I still have not gone back to sweets. Like, I started actually looking at what has added sugar in it, which is almost everything. And so like even the graham crackers have added sugar, so I wouldn't eat the graham crackers. When like students would bring candy in for me, or just any opportunity, like I would not eat it. Even cereal bars I gave up, Now I'm at the point where every now and then, like, I'll have, you know, a sip of sweet tea or a little bit of Gatorade or something like that to drink, but for the most part it's just water. After I like resisted the temptation so many times, it's not even a temptation for me anymore. It's just like, I don't do that. It's just something that I don't do, and I don't like, you know, pine over and, oh man, I missed it. Like, I don't do that anymore. It's sometimes I'll have a craving, but I can get through it. So anyway, backtrack to February 24th. I have this doctor's appointment with my primary care physician. She's like, hey, the rheumatologist said you need to go get that done. You didn't do it last year. Let's get on that ASAP. So sometime in March, probably the middle of March, I went to get that x-ray done. And so I get it done this time, and I'm waiting for the results. And it was a Friday night, I think, when I got the results back. Let me go find the paper because I want to read it to you. And the date of the exam was March 23rd. The examination consisted of PA, I don't know what that means, and lateral views of the chest. Findings: the lungs are clear, no opacity or pleural effusion, no lobar atelectasis, I don't know what that is, but none is seen. There's no evidence of pneumothorax. These medical terms make me feel like Hooked on Phonics didn't work for me, but it says the heart and vasculature are normal. The mediastinum is midline. I don't know what that means, but it says impression, clear chest. So opened up the envelope, read it, and I just popped up out of my chair, threw my hands up, and began to praise and thank God for healing my body, because all throughout these past 2 years, like on and off, I'd be having the symptoms of the difficulty breathing, tightness in my chest. It's very sporadic, no rhyme or reason, very random. I don't really recall having those symptoms in 2021, like this year. I don't really recall having it. I am so grateful to God for healing my body. And when I saw this, it really made me think, is any percentage of how God healed me, like, does any of that have to do with the fact that I have given up sugar? I don't know how much of my healing has to do with the fact that I have taken a lot of the inflammatory foods out of my diet. I do still eat meat. I do still have, some carbs. But I was a huge consumer of sugar, like very much. I feel comfortable saying that I was addicted to sugar. And sometimes people will say like, oh, well, you can still have a cookie here and there. And I kind of feel like I don't know that I can, because anytime I would just have one sweet after like coming off of a long time of giving up sugar, it would just open up the floodgates and I would have so much more. So I'm not really into the moderation. Like, I just don't even want it anymore. And sometimes when I do think about, like, we rode by Melon Mushroom the other day, and there's a Cami Cakes right next to Melon Mushroom. And I was like, man, I really want a Cami cake. But then I thought about this praise report that I got, and I'm like, girl, could it be in part that because you gave up sugar, God was able to use that and run with it, and now you're healed? Now the paper says no opacity or pleural effusion. I feel the difference. Like, I'm not having those symptoms anymore. Normally when I would give up sugar, it's because I know it's not good for me, and I do it to help me lose weight. This time, me saying no to sugar does not have anything to do with my weight. Maybe like in the back of my mind it does, but that's not even a consideration. The consideration is like my health and wanting to be healthy and well. Like, I felt like I was too young to be having random fluid in my lungs. You know what I mean? So for me, like, my reason now is about my health. It's deeper than a few vanity pounds. I did for the first time look up a BMI scale the other day, and I'm technically considered overweight, but that's not even the consideration now. It is like, I want to be healthy. I want to be well. I want to be around for my husband and my son and my grandchildren, one day. When you have a why that's strong enough, that is where real change can happen and be sustainable. And because I've tried so many times before to give up sugar, but it just had been so hard. And now that my why is like, no. Do you want to have that tightness in your chest again? Do you want to have difficulty breathing? Like, especially in a time like, 2020, when difficulty breathing was one of the symptoms, right? I don't want that anymore. So it makes it easier in a way to say no to sugar. And obviously, like, I don't have evidence that it's because I cut sugar out of my diet. It could have nothing to do with that. It could just be like God just simply healed my body of the pleural effusion. Even if giving up the sugar does have something to do with it. Like, that's still me cooperating with God to see healing manifest in my body. And so, like, whatever the case, regardless, I am just grateful that my body is healed, that I am healthy, that I'm well, that I'm not experiencing pain in my chest, tightness in my chest, and not being able to breathe well. That is my testimony of how God healed me of a pleural effusion. And I just want to encourage you that if you have something going on in your body, something, it could even have been something that you've been dealing with all your life, something new, something recent, be encouraged that God is still a healer. And if there's anything that you would like for me to join my faith with yours concerning your health, go ahead and leave me a comment down below in the comment box, or you can send me an email to everydaydeanda@gmail.com or hello@everydaydeanda, and I would be so happy to pray with and for you. And that's it. I just wanted to share my testimony, tell the good news of what God has done for me, and pray and hope that you would be encouraged by this. So if you enjoyed this video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't already here at Everyday Deanda. This is a variety channel where I like to share bits of my life as a teacher, a mom, a wife, a believer, and all my little interests sprinkled in between. I have some story times on here. So if any of that is your cup of tea, then by all means, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. And thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.